Hi, today I will be giving a persuasive speech on why I think contraceptives should be necessary after children hit puberty. Not only do girls need contraceptives, but boys as well. The forms of contraceptives for girls include the most commonly used birth control pill, which is something you take every day and is used to ensure a regular cycle and knowing when you're ovulating and whatnot to prevent your pregnancy. Another one that is used because girls aren't very good at taking one pill every day is the shot. You get it a few times a year, usually in the arm or the butt, and it ensures that you won't get pregnant as well. Also, there are things like inserts, which can be inserted either vaginally or in your arm, and those stay in you until they are no longer good, and then they are removed. Boys obviously use condoms because they're 99% effective, and not only do they prevent pregnancy, but they also prevent things like STDs and contracting diseases. Why I think birth control is important is, number one, obviously to prevent pregnancy. Particularly nowadays, teen pregnancy is a huge problem, and in a quote from an article found on womensforum.com, it says, according to the National Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy, approximately 1 million young women, men and women between the ages of 15 and 19 will become teen parents each year. Not only does teen pregnancy usually end in unwanted pregnancy, lead to things like abortion or taking a contraceptive called Plan B to eliminate the pregnancy, which is never anyone's first choice. Nobody, even if you agree or disagree with abortion, nobody wants to get an abortion. It also leads to things like high school dropouts and low-income families, which can also correlate with bad parenting. The other day on the news, there was a young couple who was found with a child that they were not feeding regularly. They would leave it for days in a dark room and did not clean it at all. The child was severely damaged from that, and this young couple, because they weren't safe, got pregnant and weren't good parents and are now serving a very long time in prison for what they did. And this is not just one case. This happens all the time because of teen pregnancy. Also, these birth control pills and other forms are not just used to prevent sex, but also for girls because they have a monthly menstruation cycle. Sometimes they have irregular cycles where they don't know when they're going to get it, so they can't really keep track of a normal schedule. Birth control pills help make it regular and have a set time of month when you're going to menstruate. Also, the negative symptoms such as cramps, bloating, fatigue, stuff like that comes along with your cycle, birth control sometimes eliminates those symptoms, so that's good. And I also know people that have used it for acne because it helps clear up the skin and deal with that problem. Why I think it's important for guys, especially to use condoms, is because birth control pills and shots and all that, it prevents pregnancy great, but condoms are the number one thing to prevent stuff like STDs and infections that can happen because of sex. And so it's really, even if the girl's not being cautious, it's really up to the guy to make sure he is. The biggest reason why I think teens aren't using contraceptives is because they are not being educated by the adults in their life. For example, school teachers, parents, and physicians, it's up to you to educate a child on the negative side effects of having sex at too young of an age, and also how to prevent these things from happening with the use of contraceptives. Usually this also brings up arguments with people's religion and moral values, which I am going to choose not to go too in-depth about because I do respect anyone that chooses to have a faith or be devoted to a certain religion or belief. But at the same time, when it comes to this particular topic, I don't think your faith should be a factor when it comes to contraceptives, because even though it's what you believe in and it's your morals, when youth are having intercourse and having sex, they're not thinking, what's God thinking of me, or will this affect my religion? They're thinking about that moment and with their partner. I think it's time for adults to realize that children are becoming adults at a very young age. They're being affected by the media and technology and their peers, and whether or not you want them to know about these things, they're going to learn about it either way. Regardless if you think your child is too young or not interested in sex, they are not too young, apparently, and they're not interested, because this is still happening. They're still having sex and still having all these unwanted pregnancies. It says, from a quote I got off of familyfirstaid.org, it says, by the end of their teen years, nearly 3/4 of teenagers have already had sex. I also think it's time for adults to take action. You are the ones that get to inform the children of what's going on with their body and the changes that they're going through, because they don't know. It's up to you to inform them of what sex is about and what can happen when you have sex and how to prevent those things from happening. I think it is better that they know the truth and learn from you than learn from other people, because that way they're learning from someone they trust, and they're more willing to try the contraceptives if you inform them about them. So once they know that that's available to them, 9 out of 10 times they're going to ask you to get on some form of contraceptive. Also, by explaining the dangers and their options for contraceptives, they'll be educated enough to make these decisions on their own. You're giving them the chance to be an adult and to prove to you that they can be responsible. I think that it is time for people to realize this is a modern world, and no matter how young and sweet you want your child to stay, eventually they will grow up, and it's up to you to make them feel safe and make them aware of what can happen. So, in conclusion, once adults realize that this is a new society and that their children are going to be exposed to this regardless, I think it is time for them to be informed and as well inform their children of their options and tell them more about contraceptives so that they can make the better choice and choose to get on some form of contraceptive in order for them to feel safe and for you to not worry as much about that one particular subject. So I hope you learned enough from my speech to make an educated decision on what you want for your own child or for a friend of yours. And for my visual aid, this is a little chart just to give you an idea of the different birth control methods. And I am done.